made against me. I was preparing to leave the building when I heard my constituency name and the misinformation that this member raised against me. The member accused me of calling the member from Fredericton, whom I do not know personally, nor have I ever met, an anti-Semite, while she was asking a question to the Minister of Families, Children and Social Development. This incident shocked me greatly and has shattered my perception of this House as a place of parliamentary decorum and respect. And it brings me great concern about how such a divided House can have the capacity to act in the best interest of Canadians. This is the gravity of the situation that compels me to interrupt this House's very important business to raise this question of privilege today. After the member from Burlington brought the false accusation against me, I returned to my seat and was able to rise to state that it unequivocally did not happen. I believe I was unfairly targeted and harmed by this baseless accusation. Let me explain. On Wednesday, December 7th, 2022, the night before this incident happened, I relaunched the Parliamentary Israeli Allies Caucus, a caucus that was formed 15 years ago with the Honourable MP Stockwell Daye, leader of the Canadian Alliance Party, as the founding chairman. I have been honoured to take the helm as the chair of this important caucus that is focused on fighting anti-Semitism. As the chair of the Parliamentary Israeli Allies Caucus, I take this allegation to be very seriously because it is my duty to foster respectful dialogue. Indeed, I've had very respectful and productive conversations about Israel and anti-Semitism with members of this House, such as the Green Party member from Saanich Gulf Islands. We do not always agree, but we've always been respectful and had productive conversations. Curiously, the next day after the launch of this caucus, I am falsely accused of calling a Liberal member of this House an anti-Semite. Mr. Speaker, I had no idea why anybody would spew that phrase against another member of this House. In fact, I was not aware of any reason until after this incident occurred. I later learned that the member from Fredericton had left the Green Party, which was led by a Black Jewish woman, and had joined the Liberal caucus. That is my current understanding, Mr. Speaker. I wasn't aware of this context, who she was, or her history before this incident happened. It therefore would have been impossible for me to have called the member from Fredericton an anti-Semite. Rather, it has been my personal conviction and value to honor and show respect to all my colleagues in this House at all times. I believe it is vital for constructive debate, for integrity of this House, and indeed for the broader unity of this country. However, what I fear, Mr. Speaker, is that this incident highlights the toxic environment that the Liberals have brought to this Parliament. It also highlights the level of pomposity that is inherent in their style of government. It is a tone set from the very top, Mr. Speaker. This government has made the politics of division its playbook. I remind members of this House that it was this Prime Minister that laid the foundation for this kind of unacceptable behavior by inferring that the member from Thornhill, a proud Jewish woman, was standing with Nazis during the trucker convoy protest earlier this year. The toxic environment fueled by this Prime Minister is in danger of bringing this House into contempt. We are all required to treat our colleagues in this House with respect because we are all honourable members. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing honourable about misleading this House and hurling false accusations against members of this House. And I fear, Mr. Speaker, that the member from Burlington deliberately misled this House, that she knowingly brought forward false information against me. She chose her words very carefully. She said she heard me specifically say something that it was impossible to have heard because I did not say it. In fact, I did not utter one word when the member from Fredericton asked her question. I was silent. Yet she misled this House by stating that I called the member from Fredericton an anti-Semite, and she heard me say it. So I find it very difficult to come to any other conclusion than that the member from Burlington misled this House deliberately. And it goes, and if this action goes unpunished, any member of this House could falsely hurl an accusation at another member and say that they said something that they did not say. This is very serious and poses the risk of bringing this entire House into disrepute. Consequently, I'm going to ask that the member from Burlington be found in contempt of this House. I also ask and expect an apology from the member from falsely accusing me. Mr. Speaker, if you review the statement made by the member, you will clearly hear her say that if she was mistaken, she would apologize. The question is, if she heard me say what she said I said, how could she have been mistaken? Mr. Speaker, it was during that same day that my colleague from Kindolin St. Paul was penalized and asked to leave this House minutes before I was accused, just minutes before. I expect equal treatment in this House towards the member from Burlington. This House is in danger of losing the confidence of the Canadian people, 1/3 of whom chose not to vote in the last election. Many Canadians are choosing not to even be involved in politics because of the pettiness that they see in this House and its behavior, like what was displayed by the member from Burlington, that has fostered the decline of confidence in our democratic institutions. We must be accountable to the public for the falsehoods that we spread in this House as elected officials and the powerful and negative impact that our statements make in this House, not only to the reputations of our member and colleagues in this House, but to the integrity of the entire House of Commons. That is why this incident rises to the level of justifying a prima facie case of a breach of privilege. I am asking that you allow this House to consider further making determinations of whether this member, the member from Burlington, should be held in contempt of this House. Should you find that there is a prima facie case, Mr. Speaker, I would be prepared to move the appropriate motion. As a member of this House, I view as my primary duty the duty to safeguard the integrity of this House by challenging acts that compromise its reputation. Misleading this House, Mr. Speaker, is a serious act, and if it is left unpunished, it will bring this entire House and its members into disrepute. Thank you.
I thank the member for her intervention. I do